It's been 7 years since I've been back to Monterey. I used to live here and get to see these guys. They kind of look like they're wearing eye makeup. Some of them at least. They remind me of Doobie. Bunch of sea doggos with flippers. There's a ton of wildlife here in Monterey because there's a sea canyon that runs right up to the shore, and cold water comes up to the surface with lots of nutrients. So there's lots of fishies and seals and otters and some whales. They're definitely more graceful in the water. I like their really long whiskers too. It cracks me up how they scratch themselves with their foot that's really short. Well, the next morning, I went to my favorite hiking trail, and it was closed because of a fire, but I went anyways. There was a really big fire here many years ago, and my wife and I had to live out of a hotel because the air was so smoky. We lived out of a hotel for a couple weeks. But life has come back and it smells really nice here. These flowers were like walking in a fragrant spa. It was perfumed air. And you had fresh air from the ocean too. This is the coastline that goes down to Big Sur. The clouds come in off the ocean because the ocean is cool. And when the air rises, there's some condensation. I liked watching the clouds swirl around. I saw this butterfly. I've only seen this butterfly once before, or this kind of butterfly. It's such a pretty color of blue and purple. And I saw a big black beetle having its breakfast of a roly-poly. I think that maybe it didn't like that I was watching it eat its meal, but it kept going. I've never seen a beetle this close up before. I could see all its antenna segments and its mouth eating. This little guy he was curious about me. Most of his friends would run away, but this guy stayed outside. I almost didn't see him because his camouflage is really good for this environment. You see him looking at me? He's looking at you too. What a pretty lizard. So curious too. I ran into another reptile. Now, I looked at the tail to see if there was a rattle, but there was no rattle. Not sure if this was poisonous, but I didn't want to find out. As I got higher up the mountain, I could see the power of the ocean crashing against the rocks. This shoreline is really pretty, but also very dangerous. There's at least a few deaths every year along this coastline. The ocean's very, very powerful. Well, my goal was to get to the top of this trail, but that meant going through the clouds. I didn't bring the right shoes for this, so I started getting some blisters on my heel. So I tried to go as far as I could. Do you see that circle of color around my shadow? That's called a glory. This is the second time I've ever seen it. And I'm reaching my left arm out to see if it makes the colors extend out towards the left, but it doesn't. The colors just stay around my shadow. You can see as I'm walking, it just follows me. Scientists have spent a long time trying to figure out how this occurs. But it has something to do with waves tunneling through water droplets. It's actually very mysterious. It was fun to watch these birds fly on the wind draft that was coming up from the ocean. And they would just find an area where the wind was going up the mountainside, and they would fly in a circle and get higher and higher. I wonder if they're friends and they hang out every day. Well, I drove upstate to a place on the Klamath River and saw this beautiful sunset, like someone had painted the sky. This river was dammed up, but with the people's concerted effort to help the salmon, that dam was dismantled. I didn't see any salmon up this far up the river, but I heard salmon are coming back up the river, and that makes me very happy. I did stay out and eat my dinner because I got to this campsite late. And I watched the sun and the twilight go away, and it was very, very, very dark. And surprisingly, it was louder at nighttime. All these insects and some animals that I couldn't even see because it was too dark, but I could hear them moving around. Even with my headlight, I couldn't see them. Well, this campsite is called Tree of Heaven. And I wondered which tree is the tree of heaven, but when the sunlight went away, I realized, wow, they're all trees of heaven. You could see all the stars. The Milky Way, you could see with your own eye. And it stretched from one end of the sky all the way over the top to the other side. This is the galaxy we live in. We are on one of the outer arms of this galaxy, and this is looking towards the center, where there are so many other stars and other planets. Well, we don't know if any other planet has life like ours does. I hope there is life elsewhere. It'd be really neat to meet other life forms. Well, maybe. I hope they're nice. Or kind. Not nice. I hope they're kind. And peaceful. Well, I guess if you were going to meet kind and peaceful life forms from another planet, I think we need to work on ourselves first. Otherwise, we would be mean to them. And I don't think that would be good for a first interaction with another life form in our galaxy. The next morning, I got up early and saw the moon right before the sun came out. And I realized that the dark side of the moon is actually a little brighter than outer space, because it was reflecting some of the light off of the Earth's surface that was being lit up by the sun. So, yeah, I don't think I've noticed that before. The dark side of the moon can be a little bit brighter than outer space. Well, that's my that's the hike that I had, and a really cool time I spent at Tree of Heaven. I hope you have a wonderful day.